Kia ora koutou, Markie here. So this is hopefully a very quick video as part of the Elegant and Accurate Speech series. Now I'm in a state of disarray, so therefore I'm giving you a picture to look at instead, which is actually on screen. So that's why you might be getting some kind of funny visual effects of it. This is a picture of moorland. So moorland and heath. Big overlap between the two. I think technically heath has heather because that's why it's called heath. Often heath is smaller patches of heath, and moorland sometimes applies to bigger areas, but that's not strictly true, and that's not really what I want to talk about really. That's just a bit of intro. So this is a series which is mainly me having a bit of a rant and being very opinionated, though there is also an educational element to it, and it can be quite useful, particularly if you do want to improve the way you speak, and also if you are a person who's learning English, if it's not your first language and you want to get to kind of expert level, I will give you some fantastic top tips. So there's loads of videos in this series. Check out the playlist, there's millions of them. So and do have a watch. This is one of my favourite series to do. This is a subject that's close to my heart, although I don't get too many hits on this series. I think it just hasn't found its niche really. It's kind of hidden in my channel among retroactive jealousy and a bunch of other things really, so it's never really had the love that it deserves. So please show some love to this series. So what I want to talk about is, this just came up recently. It's on some YouTube videos I was watching. It was particularly people who were not British. So this, you know, when I talk about pronunciation and accurate use of English, I'm talking about really English. So there's different kinds of English. There's British English, and then if you're talking phonetically in terms of accent, pronunciation, and things like that, there's English. This is something that I would say pertains to British English. Okay, so if you are of an American disposition, or one of the many other countries that think English is your native language, it's not. It belongs to us Brits, and you use it with our kind permission. And rightly speaking, you should pay a royalty every time you use the good language. So this was actually something that I think was spoken on a couple of YouTube channels by people who were decidedly of an American disposition. So I can certainly totally forgive people of an American disposition for speaking in English in a different way to British English. But I think also kind of people who were British have been guilty of this as well. Now, I'm not going to say that this is definitely accurate according to the laws of grammar. Excuse me. This is really something that's accurate according to the laws of Markie, but it makes sense. It has a logic and it has an elegance. And elegance is everything, isn't it? That's what I think anyway. That's a good little catchphrase, isn't it? I'll say that at the end of the video. Elegance, because elegance is everything. So people, quite often I've heard people recently say, I was in the moors. And no, they weren't. They were on the moors. Okay. You could be in a forest or in the forest. It's interesting where people. This is a tangent alert, because tangents are what might make my channel everything about my channel is in the tangents. So whether you use the indefinite or the definite article, with a or the. And it's really interesting where people tend to choose to use that. So in the UK, people will talk about the pub, but they will never talk about the hospital unless they're talking about a specific hospital. Whereas Americans, I notice, quite often they say, oh, he had to go to the hospital. So it sounds like, you know, the familiarity that's implied, because that's what, you know, the implies, you know, that it's more personalised. It sounds like, you know, British people spend more time in the pub and American people spend more time in hospital, which is a bit alarming. You know, that's not good, is it? So American people, you know, spend more time in the pub, or maybe you'll spend less time in the hospital. Although actually quite often, you know, what starts out in the pub ends up in the hospital, so maybe that's not such a good idea. So the moors, I was on the moors. You can say Moor can be singular as well as plural. So a particular moor So if you were being specific about the moor, if you're saying you were on Dartmoor, you could say I was on the moor. But if you're on usually if there's an area where there's a big expanse of moorland, you would tend to call it moors. I was out on the moors. I was out on the moors. Oh no, in the fog and the dark, and I hadn't seen us all. But anyway, so getting back to the point, you are on the moors, not in the moors, but you would be in a forest or the forest, and I think you probably would be in a marsh or in a bog. So why is that? Why would you be in a forest but on the moor? So moorland is generally kind of by nature it's open country, like as in the picture, although most moorland areas also usually do contain an awful lot of forest as well. But generally speaking, if we're on the moors, it's open country, so you're on it. Whereas a forest is something that's kind of that you can vanish into, you can disappear into a forest, you can enter into a forest because the trees actually form something that you can kind of disappear into. Well, you can't really disappear into the moors. You can disappear on the moors, but you can't really disappear into the moors, because if you walk into the moors, you can be quite easily seen unless you're in a valley, in which case you would be in a valley and you wouldn't be on a valley. So you're on the moors, in a valley, in the forest, in a bog, or in a marsh. Okay, now you'd be in a marsh because a marsh is kind of a largely wet area, and you can't walk on water unless you're Jesus, and so therefore you have to be in it, not on it, because otherwise you're kind of, it's like being on a lake. You can be on a lake if you're in a boat. If you're swimming, you're in a lake. And the same with a bog, because a bog and a marsh is, I'm sure there's a difference technically, and if you know what it is, put it in the comments. Be part of an interesting discussion. I find that kind of thing interesting, lots of people don't. So there you go. Now this kind of video, some people are going to get it and find it really interesting, and some people are going to go so if you go that's okay. Maybe this isn't the channel for you, or maybe you just like some of my other series, and that's all well and good and fine. But if people go, don't leave a nasty comment. Let's part as friends, and give us a nice like and all that kind of thing. So there you go. Check out all the other videos in the series. Some are a little bit more serious than this. Some are a little bit more, proper kind of linguistic tutelage. And some of them are kind of opinionated rambles like this. I prefer the opinionated rambles myself, but there you go. Check out, I did another one recently on Vocal Fry, so check out the one on Vocal Fry if you like this one. Maybe I'll do one on Up Talk. Do you want me to do one on Up Talk? And enough is enough, isn't it? I should say goodbye now. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one, which could be on language, could be on retroactive jealousy, could be on anything. So I like to keep you guessing. Thanks for watching, Rangimarie.